YouTube! Welcome back to my channel where I talk about theatre, travel and life in London. Today's video is one that I'm really excited to talk about because it's one of my favourite kind of things from history in a show. So I was really excited at the chance to finally see this show, and that is Titanic at the Charing Cross Theatre. This show was previously on at the Southwark Playhouse. I believe it's the exact same production, obviously a different cast, and it had rave reviews the last time, and I don't know why I didn't get around to see it. I'm just an idiot, basically. A bit of history for you. I've been obsessed with Titanic since I was about 10 years old, so that's 11, almost 12 years now. I watched it when I was 10. I know that's kind of young for a kid to watch Titanic, the film, but I watched it and fell in love with the story and everything, and not just the love story, like the actual history behind it. And I know it's a bit weird because obviously it's a tragedy, but I was obsessed with it. Like, I wanted to visit all the museums, like my mum took me down to Southampton to visit the museum there, and I just was a complete Titanic geek. Obviously now I really love theatre as well, so to combine the two, it's kind of a win for me. Obviously, I had to go and see it. I could not miss it again. So we went along to see it the other night. We booked tickets on Titanic, so we managed to get seats in the balcony for, I think it was something like £17 each or something like that. So a pretty good deal. I have to say though, I've been to the Charing Cross Theatre before and sat at the very front, and although that view was a bit too high, the balcony seats weren't really, like, they weren't very comfortable, so I would recommend paying that a little bit more to be in the stalls or in the main seating area, just because with the balcony you're sat on an angle, so it's not as comfortable as it could be. Saying that though, Titanic is on 2 levels, the show, so being in the balcony was quite fun because you were on the same level as the characters at some points, so that was quite interesting. I suppose it's a different perspective of the show when you see it like that. I had an inkling of what the music of Titanic was going to be like because Eston, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but he wrote a production of Phantom, which we now mostly know as Phantom of the Opera, that I saw at the Rose and Crown Theatre a couple of years ago. So I had like a sound in my mind of what I thought it would be like, and it was quite similar. The music's very beautiful, very classic. The show has so many big, powerful ensemble numbers, which is really awesome because I think in a lot of shows you kind of have big solo numbers and then kind of like good ensemble numbers, but this is like epic ensemble numbers. Speaking of the ensemble, they are, well, the whole cast are just incredible because they end up playing so many roles. They basically rotate through a set of roles because you've got first, second and third class passengers, as well as like the crew that are sailing the ship, and then the staff, and they probably all play about at least 3 characters, maybe even 4 each. And that's really impressive to watch. It was really nice to see a few familiar faces in the cast that I've seen in previous shows, because with a show like this, I'd probably go see it even if I didn't know anyone in it, but when you know there's going to be a few people whose voices you know and like in the show, that really helps with wanting to go and also with enjoying the show. In particular, I was looking forward to hearing Rob Houchen's voice again. I don't know if I'm saying his surname correctly, so apologies if I'm not, but I saw him in Les Mis as Marius a couple of times, and yeah, just really enjoyed his voice and acting, and again in Titanic, it's brilliant. Throughout the show there was this one lady who I just kept thinking, I really know your face. What show have I seen you in? And it was really annoying me throughout the whole of Act 1, so I quickly went and looked at a programme to see where the hell I knew her from, because it was going to bug me for the entire night if I didn't find out at that point. And I realised it was Claire Machin, who I'd seen in Memphis. Oh, she's just fantastic. She plays a character called Alice Bean, who is a second-class passenger desperately wanting to be a first-class passenger, and just watching her throughout the show and how her character develops was just really fascinating to me. She just played it so well. I've watched Titanic, the film, so many times in my lifetime. I was really worried that kind of the music that I know from the film, even though obviously I knew the show was going to be different, I was worried that certain moments would only have that music attached to it in my head, and thankfully it didn't. I was just able to enjoy the show as like a completely different plot, apart from the fact you know what happens at the end. Considering that I've watched the film so many times in my life, I'm really glad that I was able to kind of forget about it whilst I was watching the show, and I could just enjoy this retelling of it, because I think that could be a problem for some people or some other shows where you're so used to one format of it that it's really hard to kind of accept and enjoy another. I think to see a story like this told on stage in the way that it is, it's just really fascinating how they use the space, how they use the set. The set is brilliant. I love what fringe spaces or small theatre spaces do with their set for shows. Especially something like this. It's so simple but works so efficiently, and it reminds me all the time of how wonderful theatre is in terms of imagining things, because there is a lot that you have to do in fringe and off West End spaces to kind of fill in the gaps of a show, because there's only so much you can do. When they were creating the film of Titanic, obviously they had special effects to a degree and they could make it massive and grand and wonderful, and then on a stage like the Charing Cross Theatre you can't do that much, but what they did with what they have is incredible. And there were some moments in the show where they used the stage so cleverly, especially in the sinking of the Titanic. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really fascinating how they used the stage in that moment, and I wasn't expecting it. It's just really, really clever. I really enjoyed how with this production there wasn't exactly like a main character. It focused on everyone and everyone's story and sort of everyone's moment and feeling and reaction to being on the Titanic. Even in like the ensemble numbers, there's this moment where everyone's saying why they're on that ship and where they want to like take their life in America and what they want to do with it, and that progresses throughout the show, which is really, really enjoyable to watch, because sometimes I feel like when you go see a show it's just focused on like one or two or a little cluster of people, but this really felt like it managed to capture everyone's reactions to everything, which is really impressive. There are so many incredible cast members that I can't even mention them all, but it is really a solid ensemble and cast effort to put this show together. It's such a massive show in a way, in such a small theatre. I really, really enjoyed it. As sad as it is, I did have a little cry at some points. It's really beautiful. Titanic is on at the Charing Cross Theatre until the 6th of August. I highly recommend you go and see it. Whether you're a fan of Titanic or not, this is just an excellent piece of theatre. So do get yourself along there to see it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do give it a like if you have, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of me in the future. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!